Hello, it's 1 p.m. Welcome to the Lunch News. My name is Karen Dodu.
And I'm Nana Joa into Hagen.
Coming up.
We must say that we were equally surprised because the hospital has laid down protocol on how to manage COVID bodies or disease from COVID.
Management of Eastern Regional Hospital begins investigations to ascertain how the corpse of a COVID-19 victim was buried by a family without appropriate protocols.
And also coming up in this bulletin,
I am, through this medium, calling on the President of the Republic and all people who do matter to intervene to find an lasting solution to this belly that has broken up in this school.
Paramount Chief of Upper Disco calls on President to intervene in land disputes between the Upper and Lower Disco Paramountcies in the Western region.
And later in African news, Niger declares 3 days of mourning for the death of over 50. We're also live on our sister station, Asaase Radio in Kumasi, 123 FM in Tamale, on our affiliate Stone City Radio in Ho, Mining City Radio in Takwa, and across the globe on Facebook at Asaase Radio 995. Grateful for your time. Now the details of our stories. The management of the Eastern Regional Hospital and the Ghana Police Service are investigating a case where a corpse infected by COVID-19 was buried without the supervision of the environmental health officers. According to sources, the environmental health officers from the New Jabin South Municipality were to supervise the preparation of the body for burial on the 14th of March at the Eastern Regional Mortuary for burial, but to their dismay could not find the body. The New Jabin South Environmental Health Officer Emmanuel Tete prevented the body from being buried after they arrived at the cemetery and asked them to report at the police station. The clinical director of the Eastern Regional Hospital, Dr. Asaase Menu, throws more light on the incident.
The management of the hospital's notice was brought to this issue in the dailies. We must say that we were equally surprised because the hospital has laid down protocol on how to manage COVID bodies or disease from COVID. Usually, we sanitize the body, we disinfect the body, then the body is saved at a different place in a body bag, and the environmental officers usually ensure that the body is given the appropriate burial without the influence of the family. Family having to touch the body or anybody getting very close to the body to prevent further infection.
That was the clinical director of the Eastern Regional Hospital, Dr. Asaase Menu, throwing more light on that. But we have our Eastern Regional correspondent on the line, John Atifa, who's been engaged in management of the hospital. Give us more details on this developing story. John.
Hello, Karen.
So you have been speaking to management. Just kindly clear our thoughts. How exactly did this happen?
Okay, Karen, from the management of the hospital and from sources, per the protocol, COVID protocols, when someone dies, being infected with the COVID-19, the body has to be given to the environmental health officers to go through the process in the presence of a few family members. So on the 14th of March this year, which was last Sunday, there was supposed to be this body that was supposed to be buried. And the environmental health officers got to the mortuary, and as soon as they got there, they were ready to take the body. And they realized the third body was not around. They searched and they couldn't find it. So per sources, they were told that the family had come for the body. So they had to trace the body, and they got to the Koforidua cemetery, where they decided to lay ambush to wait for the body. And we were told that because the person is an Adventist, they sent the body to a church, an SDA church, for burial, memorial service and everything before they brought the body to the cemetery. So, Karen, when they got to the cemetery, they met these environmental officers around, and they had already reported to the police about the incident. So it became a scuffle between the family and the environmental health officers, and they had to let the family go to the police station to go and report the situation before they allowed the body to be buried. So now when the hospital got to know of it, they are now investigating as to who released the body to the family and how the family also got to have the body without the involvement of the environmental health officer. So that is what the hospital management and the police are now investigating into.
But John, are you aware or have you gathered if the family members and all those who came into contact with this corpse have been tested for the virus? And why was there a scuffle? Is it that they were in denial that their relative indeed had the virus?
The scuffle was that they were supposed to wait for the environmental health officers to take the body and do the necessary preparation before it is buried. As Dr. Amponsamenno gave the process of burying a COVID-19 dead person. And they didn't wait. So they have to do the thing themselves and they have to rush. Maybe send it to the church and others. But as to if they have been contacted or contact tracing has been done, that is what the hospital said. They are investigating to know who and who were there, those who gave into contact with. And as we are told, they send it even to the church. So if it was sent to the church, how is it going to be done? So they are still investigating. And the police says we should wait and they are doing their investigation and later they will be set on whatever they gather.
Finally, what steps is the hospital taking to ensure that this does not happen again?
Yes, according to the clinical director, Dr. Amponsamenno, they are in contact. They are doing their investigation with the mortuary workers. Okay, as to how the family got into that, and from now on, they want to assure the public that they are doing every possible best so that anybody who dies of the COVID-19 in the hospital and the body is deposited at the mortuary, the due process is followed before the person is buried.
Thank you very much, John. And that was our Eastern Regional correspondent, John Atefa, reporting from over the incident at the Eastern Regional Hospital where a body or a corpse infected with COVID-19 was almost buried by the family.
Now to the Ashanti region, and police there has begun investigations into circumstances surrounding a fire incident that led to the death of a 9-year-old boy in Medoma. The suspect, who is believed to have started the fire, only named as Ajiman, is a commercial driver. He set a 4-bedroom house ablaze, leaving his surviving girlfriend and 2 of their children with minor injuries. Our correspondent Jonathan Ofori visited the scene of the crime and filed this report.
So I'll be taking you through what has really damaged here. I can see some clothings, fridges, the roof, the entire roof has been ripped off, exposing occupants here to serious threats. The roof has been damaged. I must say that the entire property here, running into thousands of cedis, have since been destroyed as a result of the fire. I must say that it is still unclear what really happened that triggered this fire. Etimame yenyanente yese na akwala no so hye ha ontimi empie bacho brakakra na ontimi empie yese ha sei nana ohye no ontimi empie na sempa na esitie
bacho meme dan ni we nti gane yese mo magimi o agimahwie bibia gufuma pamanchese no ti wana na mekunu so dan na mnyan seja modam so mo hwie ti e be so na sese jane da fom no mankasa ni jane da fom na ye kese pa akra na ntimi empie nti me man sa lo kupunu we no. Okay. The baby we na me insanity me pie. Afeja na e kese pa.
Akwala ne din de saying they were wo na.
Atankwa na mo yentafo. Na we man ne fi.
This is Esther Jemfi, the landlady here, narrating all that occurred, and she says at a point the deceased or the victim was locked up here in this window, and he cried for help, but help did not come. It had to take the intervention of the occupants here to rescue them. But unfortunately, the 9-year-old boy died when he was rescued. The fire service has been here to assess the situation. We've also been told that NADMO officials have also come here to assess the situation. Reporting for Asaase News, my name is Jonathan Ofori.
Now, still on matters related to crime, and police in Takwa have arrested 37 Nigerians suspected to be involved in a robbery case that happened at Agona Wasa in the Takwa Nswaya municipality. The robbers are said to have attacked the fuel station. The 37 suspects were arrested in a swoop based on intelligence gathered by the police. 3 of the suspects are in custody, while the rest have been granted bail after a rigorous screening exercise. Takwa Divisional Police Commander Chief Superintendent George Kuma, who confirmed the incident to Asaase News, said the suspects who are in custody have confessed to their involvement in the robbery and are assisting police with investigations.
We encountered a robbery incident where a filling station was robbed, and from our intelligence gathered and also the victims who were attacked, we got to know that the 6 people who were involved in the robbery were all Nigerians. Based on that, we decided to embark on a scoop on all Nigerian citizens within Takwa. At least we were able to identify.
And we apologize for that bad sound, but you heard that Takwa Divisional Police Commander Chief Superintendent George Kuma.
Now let's stay a little longer in the western region, because the overlord of Upper Diskov traditional area in the Ahanta West municipality of the region, Obrimpon Himadechi, has called on President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to intervene in the chieftaincy clashes and a land dispute between the Upper and Lower Diskov paramountcies in the western region. His comments come on the back of a recent attack on some traditional leaders of the Upper Diskov traditional area, which included mother of the paramount chief, Christina Ikwa. The attack is said to have occurred when the traditional leaders visited some plots of land claimed by Nana Akwesi Agyeman, who is the paramount chief of Lower Diskov. Addressing a press conference in Takoradi, Obrimpon Himadechi appealed to the president to resolve the issue to enable peace and stability to prevail in the area.
Day in, day out, we are being faced with dynamite attacks. People have harbored dynamite in their rooms in Lower Diskov, and they play with it as if they are playing with knockout. All these matters have been reported. When it was left with less than 3 days for the president to be in Diskov to cut sod for the construction of a sea defense wall and a landing site, the community with which we have a chief on, Nana Akwesi Agyeman, goes to install a chief on the same land, goes to high tanks and bring them, and they provoke the people, preventing the people even entering their own land. In this 21st era, we cannot sit when people actually become so lawless and they take the laws into their own hands and try to breach the relative peace that we have all enjoyed. I am, through this medium, calling on the President of the Republic and all people who do matter to intervene to find an lasting solution to this melee that has broken up in Diskov.
And that was the overlord of Upper Diskov traditional area in the western region of Obrimpon Himadechi.
You're still listening to the Lunch News here on Asaase Radio. Now let's do some legal matters, because a 5-member Supreme Court panel presided over by Justice Yawapao has ordered the Attorney General to amend charges leveled against the former Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, that's Ernest Thompson, and 4 others by the state who have all been accused of causing financial loss of more than $14.8 million in the SNIT operational business suit project. Now, head of our legal and political desk, Wilberforce Asare, was in court today and joins us in studio with more details on this case. So, Wilberforce, give us a little background to this case and what ensued in court today.
All right, so Karen, sometime in 2010, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, decided to embark on a computerization effort as far as its internal processes are concerned. And that resulted in the introduction of the OBS project. Now, the state is saying that upon investigations, it discovered that sometime between 2013 and 2016, the figure, which is the amount of money that was set down for the project, $34 million, ballooned to $66 million without any explanation. And so in 2018, the state instituted charges against 5 persons. And the first, obviously, was the Director General then, Ernest Thompson, and some 4 others. Now, as soon as these charges were instituted against them, Mr. Ernest Thompson and his lawyers challenged the constitutionality of the charges. They are saying that Article 19(2)(d) and 11 of the 1992 Constitution has been breached as a result of the charges. They also say that the charges are not clear, and it's also in breach of Section 112 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act 30.
Okay.
Now, because of this, they brought an application at the High Court, essentially challenging this and saying that the charges should be dismissed. The High Court disagreed with them. And then they proceeded to the Court of Appeal. When they went to the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal says that it thinks there are some difficulties with the charge sheet. Okay. And so they should try and amend those charge sheets. Now, the state disagreeing with the Court of Appeal went to the Supreme Court. And so today, the Supreme Court ruling is essentially that it agrees with the position of the Court of Appeal. And so please go and do the amendments.
So what sort of amendments is the Supreme Court seeking in relation to this case?
Well, so the Supreme Court is actually indicating that the way the charge sheet has been drafted, it brings a surprise on the defense. Okay. And so they are not able to put their defense together properly. And so they think that the Director of Public Prosecution, who was present in court today, should take a second look at the way the charges have been proffered against the accused persons and to amend same before they can continue with the case. It's an interesting twist, but we wait to see what the Director of Prosecution, Public Prosecution, will put up in court as far as this case is concerned.
Well, we don't know when next there'll be a hearing for this case.
Well, so this case is at the High Court primarily, but since 2018, we are in 2021, and the case has gone all the way to the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court. Certainly, it's going to come back to the High Court, and we will know from the High Court registrar when all the matters are settled.
Okay. We understand there's a new development with the former Auditor General, that's Daniel Domelevo, and the Audit Service boss. You have a statement to that regard?
Indeed, yes. The Audit Service, in a letter dated 14th March, wrote to Mr. Daniel Domelevo, asking him to prepare handing over notes to the next person taking over from him. Now, Mr. Domelevo appears to be replying to this letter in his letter dated the 17th of March 2021, which is essentially today. And so he's saying that he has been out of office for nearly 8 months. And so as soon as he resumed on the 3rd, he was asked to proceed on retirement. And so he's saying that he's literally not been in office. And so for him to be able to prepare handing over notes, it means that the one who is acting will have to hand over to him so that he'll prepare the handing over notes. Then he can hand over back to the person. So it sounds like a letter that is somewhat with a sarcastic tone, but that is the letter from Mr. Daniel Domelevo, and it is copied to the Vice President, Jubilee House, the Chief of Staff, Jubilee House, the Secretary to the President, Jubilee House, and the Acting Auditor General
of the Audit Service. Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Wilberforce Asare. Interesting times ahead, and that was head of our legal and political desk, Wilberforce Asare.
Well, if you have not heard, there's a prediction from the Deputy Director for the Meteorological Agency, Joe Tete Potofi. We can take a listen to what he's been predicting regarding the rainy season.
Yes, the Volta region, forests and hilly areas, that's Ashanti region, Brahafo region. And even at certain times, the coastal areas will also experience these thunderstorms. As some of us who are living in low-lying areas, in Accra or in Ghana, when we say Jo, means valley. So when you take Jowulu, Malajo, all those it means there is a valley. And when there is a valley, water must be collected in it. So if you are living in low-lying areas and the rain starts, please be advised to move.
Well, in a few weeks, the rains are likely to set in already. Regions such as the Ashanti, Oti, and Eastern regions have over the past few days experienced heavy rainstorms resulting in destruction of school buildings and other facilities. Asaase News reporter Philippa Tanga visited Alaju, a suburb here in Accra, and noted for flooding during the rainy season. She's been gauging the preparedness of residents there.
Yeah, that's Mama got an arm. I allowed you had a fear of hydrogen. Piano, my batua, baby, everything was a nada, I'm dead. They say, that's a wood tree. And yes, they go hard now for. Oh, I want a day. Now, so I was MP no one or boy. And more was what the boy and they say. Actually, every 3 months beyond. Gotano, a die no more, and young me one. Gotan Kuman. I was at time beyond every 3 months and catch every 3 months. And call my you got a numina. Yes, a son, you any film.
So, the step where I am, my memoir, money, poor. It's only try any baby and your local code. They say, Mama, I buy an umbrella number. Why?
And you heard some residents of Alajo. Let's now get onto the phone lines and speak to our reporter Philip Atanga, who has visited another popular area noted for floods, and that's the Odona area here in Accra. Philippa, good afternoon, and what more can you report from where you are?
Good afternoon, Anajua. So I'm at Odona, just behind the main market, and we all know that this is one of the flood-prone areas in Accra. Whenever it rains, we have people getting stranded because of the rain. And so today I'm here to engage some of the residents to find out what preparations they are making ahead of the rain, because we know we are approaching the raining season in just some few days. So I have some of them here I would like to talk to. Auntie Mbate saying, now Mbate, what's not hard? Now what's not there how many years? Oh, that's 7 years. Now, I have seen in Tuna High in the piano. I see we are water and I will send you there. It's going to fall one thing. I'm a father. A Busua, now, the Busua is ever and I can't see now. Maybe always so far. It's not what I see. Okay, I'm one again. I'm one again. And two of the top. My baby, and then she got some almost the double high. Maybe I say about and so okay, now let me to another gentleman. You know them, I say. In Coco, they can say, born and uncle to book that is move a time, and into the market in Tunis Park, including Twin Temple. Then I walk out there, and yeah, all of it. And then, what a normal year, a woman, only got a by Bapo. In the 2 years, outside Yaya. Really going to Japan at some point. In the year, then you move it back. Then goes on in trouble. And you don't want to tell you that one Maya.
Yeah, Philippa. Yes, Philippa. Hello, Philippa. Yes, so let me find out from you quickly. Have they been told of the prediction by the Meteo Agency that indeed we should brace up for a heavy rainy season this year?
Before I got there, I was around the market area, and some of them told me they have hints that this year we are going to have heavy rainfall, but you know the usual thing they will say, they don't have the means to relocate, so they will still cope with the situation.
Philippa, thank you very much for that. We know you are gathering more on what especially the authorities are doing to ensure that this year we do not see too much flooding in these areas. That was my colleague Philippa Atanga bringing us that live reports from Odona here in Accra.
Now, the Christian Council of Ghana says it is not against members of lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer and intersex groups, but the practice of describing it as a sin. The council has thus set aside a day for prayers and fasting to deliver such persons from the act. This comes on the back of what seems to be the relentless nature of the group to firm up its presence in the country. The group is now raising funds on social media to help them secure another office after they were evicted from their former office following a raid by the National Security weeks ago. Here is Chairman of the Christian Council, Most Reverend Paul Boafo, speaking to Asaase News.
We are not xenophobic. It is not any hate against the people. We love the people. We love the people. But the act is what we are born. And so we are saying that such people, even as they come to us, we will help them out of it. We love them. Nobody is saying that they should be killed, they should be banned, they should do whatever. No. What we are saying is that the act is not acceptable in our society, and the Bible does not accept it.
Chairman of the Christian Council, Most Reverend Paul Boafo.
Well, it's now time for sports, and Benedict Owusu joins us with the latest.
Yes, good afternoon, guys. Now, the trending sports news in the last 2 hours has got to do with the Asante Kotoko announcement of Brazilian striker Michael Vinicius as their latest acquisition. Now, the former Fluminense striker joins the Porcupine Warriors on a 2.5-year deal. Now, Vinicius becomes the second Brazilian to join the Reds in the ongoing campaign after the arrival of Fabio Gama at the start of the season. So, an interesting one which has caused a lot of, comments on social media, and we'll definitely be doing more on this in our subsequent sports bulletins. But away from that, President of the Confederation of African Football, that's CAF, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, has stated that the Africa Cup of Nations will happen every 2 years and insists there will be no change to the duration of the tournament, at least for now.
And I've got no doubt where we are now, it has to be every 2 years. There's no doubt about that. Let me say something quickly. African football needs partners. And you need partners who can make things happen. You've got partners who've got brilliant ideas, it's fine. You've got partners who will encourage you, it's fine. But we need partners who will be with us on the ground and in this practical, tangible, accessible manner, make a difference in Africa. So Infantino, in all of the discussions and his passion for African football, his commitment to African football, his partnership to make African football succeed, and the discussions I've had with him for quite some time, and that's why I can confidently say that I'm absolutely committed to work together with him, to partner. He's my brother. He loves Africa, and I need him to help us do the things we need to do for Africa.
So that was CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe speaking there. Well, the Ghana Football Association and Qatar Football Association have signed a 5-year cooperation agreement. Now, the partnership, which takes immediate effect, covers technical and professional exchanges, general management, study and research and assistance in sports facilities. Now, others include sports science, sports medicine, futsal, women's football, youth football, promotional and marketing. Now, the two associations have also agreed to cooperate to play international friendlies between the national teams. And just before I take leave of you, following the qualification of Manchester City and Real Madrid to the next round of the UEFA Champions League tonight, is the defending champions Bayern Munich. They will come up against Lazio, with Bayern already having their leg in the next stage of the competition. That's the quarterfinals. The other game tonight will be Chelsea. They will play host to Atletico Madrid. And remember, Chelsea won the first leg by a goal to nil. So any form of win for the Blues will see them join the likes of Manchester City, Real Madrid, Liverpool in the next stage of the competition. That's sports.
Thank you very much, Benedict Owusu. And before we go, some news happening elsewhere on the continent. Niger is starting 3 days of national mourning after 58 people were killed by gunmen in 2 separate attacks near the border with Mali. Residents of the Western Tillaberi region said suspected militants targeted vehicles carrying traders returning from local markets on Monday. It's not clear who carried out the killings, but the region has suffered frequent attacks by armed groups linked to the Islamic State group and Al-Qaeda. In January, more than 100 villagers were killed in the region in one of Niger's worst ever attacks.
And Kenya's government spokesperson Cyrus Oguna has sparked an uproar for asking Kenyans to stop crying over high taxes after fuel price increment on Tuesday. Mr. Oguna told the media briefing that the amount of taxes people pay in Europe is nothing compared to what Kenyans are paying. He added, and I quote, "We are crying when we shouldn't be crying. Actually, we should be standing firm and saying this is our government and we'll support it to end of quote." Social media commentators have demanded an apology from the government, saying Mr. Oguna's comments are insensitive at a time when many are facing economic hardship. Kenya's energy regulator says petroleum pump prices are determined by a formula that concludes the cost of importation plus other charges on the supply chain.
And that'll be all for the lunch news here on Asaase Radio. A recap of our headlines. Management of Eastern Regional Hospital begins investigations to ascertain how the corpse of a COVID-19 victim was buried by a family without appropriate protocols.
Paramount Chief of Upper Discove calls on President to intervene in land disputes between the Upper and Lower Discove Paramountcies in the Western region.
Many thanks for your time. My name is Karen Dodu.
And I am Nanajwa Intia Hagen.
There's more news on AsaseRadio.com. Good afternoon. and time again, policymakers set out guidelines and structures for our living,